New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
What Would Louise Say? Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Hosted by Reverend Martine Bernard. Explore the wisdom of Louise Hay. Brought to you by New Thought Media Network. Dive into Louise's teachings. Experience healing and empowerment. Reverend Martine shares insights. Connect with a contemporary audience. Unlock your potential. Transform your life with love. Embrace positivity and healing. Join our vibrant community. Ready to join us? Let's spread love and wisdom together. Please like, share, and subscribe. Only on New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Hello, 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 beautiful souls. How are you today? Happy holidays. Happy season of life, of light and life and joy and abundance and every good thing. I'm so excited. I am your host, Reverend Martine Bernard, and this is What Would Louise Say? So this is a show where we explore the worldview, Louise Hay's worldview and its implications, its joys, its upliftment of so many of us. So this show is a sacred place, a place where we remember Louise's timeless truth, that self-love is not a luxury, beautiful ones. Self-love is not a luxury. It's a life-saving spiritual practice. So Louise taught us that our thoughts create our experiences, that compassion heals what judgment cannot. And when we learn to love ourselves deeply, miracles unfold. So I have a miracle worker who's here with us today. This conversation today is especially close to Louise's heart and to mine because we are exploring healing shame, reclaiming self-worth, and becoming our own inner advocate. So, I'd like us to just take a breath right now and say to ourselves, I am open to healing. I am open to love. I am open to the truth. So my guest today is Chris Tompkins, a licensed marriage and family therapist, an author, a speaker, and a spiritual advocate whose life and work are profoundly shaped by Louise's You Can Heal Your Life. Chris discovered Louise's work in 2012, and during a time of deep personal searching, as Louise often says, the book finds us when we're ready. His message that our thoughts matter and that self-love is transformational changed the way Chris saw himself and the world. So Chris has done Heal Your Life Workshop Leader training in 2013. He also was invited to teach for the Tilly Life Center, a nonprofit that integrates Louise Hay's philosophy into social emotional learning for teens. And through this work, Chris has brought Louise's teachings to profound places of need, like the Central Juvenile Hall, Penny Lane, and the Los Angeles LGBT Center. So welcome, 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 welcome to this master teacher. Chris, it's so wonderful to have you here on our show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh, you're so welcome. And you're glowing. I'm in my winter. I'm here on the East Coast and Chris is on the West Coast. So he looks a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Wearing lighter weight clothing.
Yes. Yeah. We're not It's
here.
not, yeah, it's not chilly over here. It's still kind of warm.
Exactly. It's a little chilly, so I have my cozies on
Mm,
here.
mm,
So, Chris, could you tell me a little bit about how you discovered Louise's philosophy? And what was that encounter? I think everybody has what I call a Louise
mm,
or a Lulu, as she was called, a
mm,
Lulu encounter that
mm.
changes our lives.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I've not heard that Louise encounter, but I certainly had one. I had moved out. I'm from Tucson, Arizona originally, and so I'd moved out to Los Angeles in 2008 for a job,
Yes.
and it was kind of a dream job, and doing a lot of LGBTQ advocacy work. And after I had come out of the closet, and I really wanted to immerse myself, and so when I came out to Los Angeles, I was so excited for this job, and yet there was something that was missing, and I couldn't explain, I couldn't articulate it, because I had this wonderful office, like a corner office with a view of downtown Los Angeles, going to a lot of LA kind of Hollywood parties, and working for a national LGBTQ organization, being around a lot of people who were similar to myself, and yet again something was still missing. So I started to I do believe that books are like messengers, and
Yes.
when we're ready, they'll appear. Books will fall off the shelf. And
That's beautiful.
yeah, and at that time I was starting to kind of rediscover books. And I remember I was at a bookstore. I had started working with a spiritual life coach, because I had lost my job. And drugs and alcohol are very much a part of my story. And so even though I had this wonderful, successful job, and I appeared very successful on the outside, inside I didn't love myself. I still had a lot of shame. I think for me, shame isn't like a light switch. And for me, coming out of the closet, although things certainly changed, it wasn't like a light switch, and all of that shame that I had carried for so long just fell away. I still was carrying it. And so I was working with a spiritual life coach, and I was meeting a friend for a book signing. And so I was starting to kind of understand spiritual kind of concepts. And I like to say, for people that aren't familiar with or have never lived in Los Angeles is known for, of course, Hollywood, the entertainment industry, the kind of the glitz and glamour. LA also has a really rich, wonderful spiritual life. And
Yes.
there are so many incredible teachers. So I was starting to go to Marianne Williamson, see her lecture in A Course in Miracles. Of course, Agape is here. And I, started to kind of go to discover New Thought. And so I remember I was at the Studio City Library, and I was browsing the books, and I like self-help. So I was in the self-help section, and I was browsing the bookshelves. And I remember there was this book that caught my attention, and I pulled it off the bookshelf, and I was waiting for my friend. We were going to go to a book signing. So I was by myself, and I pulled the book off the bookshelf, and it was this really worn, tattered book. But I remember it had a big heart, and it had a bunch of colors. So it looked visually, really appealing. So I remember I was standing there flipping through the book, and I was kind of, reading some stuff in the book. And I was like, wow, I'd never read some of these concepts. So I remember sitting down. This is when, the book's really drawing you in.
Yes.
Instead of standing there just kind of flipping through, I was like, I need to find a seat. So I sat down, and I started flipping through again. And the book seemed really old. But yet I was reading stuff that felt current. And I remember I flipped toward the very back of the book. And the book, of course, is You Can Heal Your Life.
Yes.
It was not a book for, of course, the people who are listening. It's not a book about being gay or LGBTQ, but I had happened to flip to the very back of the book, where there's a few pages where Louise Hay is talking about gay men specifically.
Yes.
And so I was reading, I just happened to, come to those pages, and I started reading it. And everything that she was saying was true to my experience, what I had just shared with you. And I was confused. I remember being confused because the book seemed old, and yet again, it was very current, modern.
Yes.
So I remember
She
flipping
was
to,
ahead of her time. She was ahead of her time.
right, and the things that she was talking about, especially specifically for gay men, were still really relevant. And so I remember
Yes.
flipping to the front of the book to see when it was written, the date. And I remember reading, and it said 1983 or 84, I think it was. And I just had this, it was like this moment, this like aha kind of God shot moment where all the things that I had intuitively felt and had been experiencing in my own life were real and true. And so I was like, I remember having this moment of thinking, and I hadn't even read the full book yet, but I remember thinking, if I can get this information to young people at a young age, then it could prevent them from experiencing so much of what I had to go through and unlearn myself. So I checked the book out, of course, and I read the book, and I could go on and on, but I remember I used to purchase copies of the book, and I would carry them in my trunk, and I would give them to people. And so I gave copies of the book to, family members. I had just never heard before. I remember for the first time hearing the notion that our thoughts create our experience.
Yes.
I was like, what? I'd never heard that before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if my thoughts create my experience, I need to pay attention to what it is that I'm thinking.
Yes. Oh, yes. I can relate to that because I always talk about her, crazy girl, before Louise. Crazy girl. And I've spent a lot of time in Los Angeles. I'm really, really blessed to call Reverend Mike. My best friend is Reverend Michael's kind of one of his assistants. She's the youth minister. Anyway, I met him about 20 years ago. He was famous in LA, but now he's globally famous. And consider him a mentor, and just Agape's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
It's an amazing community. But what I love about Reverend Michael's message is that has always included, and it might just be because he's also a man of color, it's always included communities that that are oftentimes marginalized by people's views, especially the LGBTQ community. So I just have to take this moment to congratulate you on this book. I adore the cover because as a kid I loved playing with chalk. My brother was an artist, a visual artist. I'm the singer. But I would play with his chalks. There was always chalks around. And I remember chalk from school, of course. Please tell us, this is a segue. Please tell us about your book, about this mission. Because this seems like a call.
For sure.
And a mission. And where can we find the book? So let me get to that first.
Yeah, the book is, thank you. The book is available wherever books are sold. And yeah, this book, I wrote the dedication in the very beginning of the book, the acknowledgement section. I thank Louise Hay. And her book, I could not have written this book without having discovered Louise Hay and her teachings. And so much of this book is informed, is infused. The title is Raising LGBTQ Allies, but take away the title and it's very much a spiritual book. Chapter 3 of the book is pretty much my experience of Louise Hay and Louise Hay's inspiration for me of being able to redevelop a relationship with a higher power. Because I said that in the book, I don't think I could talk about this subject without addressing God and religion. Even though this is not a religious book, I don't think I could talk about this without at least addressing people's, and especially living in the United States, are kind of understanding as it relates to religion and sexuality and sex. And that's where a lot of the shame comes from. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Let's get into it, Chris.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that chapter 3 and just how there's this conflation. I mean, it's just, it comes together
Mm-hmm.
where people equate sexuality with guilt because of our Judeo-Christian heritage.
Mm-hmm.
I've been blessed to have lots of Jewish friends. I have a Jewish ex-fiance, and he would always say to me, "Well, Jews, it's sex isn't a big deal for Jewish people. There's not all of the way it is for Christians."
Mm.
And it really, really is. And people's judgment of themselves. But for me, what blows my mind, because Jesus, the greatest guru, was so loving to everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and especially those who are, quote unquote, the outcast of good, quote unquote, society.
Right.
It's so astonishing that a lot of the anti-gay or anti-LGBTQ rhetoric comes from spiritual people or people who
Right.
claim to be followers of Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about New Thought, because, my beloved viewers, we don't really care about that.
Mm-hmm.
We are all about, and Louise was also all about, empowering you.
Yeah.
And getting you to love that inner child that has been rejected, judged by you, judged by others, and reclaiming that love.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we reclaim that love, there is healing.
Yes.
There is healing, and we behave differently in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Not to monopolize this moment, but I cannot. We are sending out love to those who went through the experience on Bondi Beach during the first few days of Hanukkah, to those people, to individuals, to the communities of Brown University, and we're holding in our hearts, the sad passing of oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name right now. The lovely
Rob Reiner,
his wife. And it was very interesting. I woke up this morning, meditated, and Spirit was like, they've already forgiven their son, because once you're in Spirit, you know the truth. We are the ones on the planet who are grieving. We are ageless, timeless beings, but there's so much shame. There's so much anger, and that shame, when it's not healed, and we don't love ourselves, can be turned outward into energy that then attacks others.
Right.
You're a clinician. You've gone in depth. You have the synthesis of Louise's work, and then also your understanding of psychology as a clinician. Can you speak to that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, Louise Hay, I did Louise Hay, and I had that foundation prior to even becoming a clinician, because one of the things I've learned in the work that I do, and what's been so, for me, passionate about doing the work, is that we can only take others as far as we've gone ourselves. And so for me, really being able to come across Louise Hay's work was life-changing and life-saving for me in so many ways. I believe powerfully in healing generational trauma. And, when we heal 7 generations before us and 7 generations after. And so Louise Hay's book really opened my heart, my soul, my mind. And, one of the things that, kind of going back to chapter 3, I talk about, and this is what's so important for me of New Thought, is being able to have choice in our thinking and have choice in what it is that we believe. Because most of us are born into a family and into a society and into a culture, into a community, into a city, and we just are learning, and we just take on all of these beliefs and we believe them because that's kind of what we know. And so Louise Hay's book really was the first time that I was able to start to question my beliefs. Why do I believe that? And so that helped me redevelop a relationship with a God that was loving and supportive, and not this kind of archetype of an older man sitting on a cloud in the sky that I used to really fear. I genuinely grew up in a family that I believed that I could go to hell, and that hell was a place.
Yes.
So I lived my life to try and be the best, good person that I was.
Placate that God.
Yeah, placate that God. But that's not an authentic relationship. That's not a genuine connection for me.
Yes.
And so, Louise Hay's book was sort of like a guide for me to help me redevelop a relationship, which to me is a foundation of my life, is my spirituality, my spiritual practice, my connection with a higher power.
Yeah.
And I think that to me is fundamental in the work I do as a clinician.
Yes.
Because I say this to my clients all the time, we could sit here and we could talk and do talk therapy, and that's certainly effective. And you're also a body, and you're also a mind, and you're also a spirit. And so what are we doing holistically to approach all of those elements? Because we carry shame and trauma in our bodies. And I think one of the most difficult things, I don't know if difficult is the right word, one of the most damaging is the right word, is for a child to believe that they're separate from God, or that God is not available to them because of something about them.
Yes.
Because that is the first introduction to shame. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about serving specifically gay men and the LGBTQ community. And Louise Hay's work, for me, Louise Hay is part of LGBTQ history. I mean, West Hollywood, California. I live in West Hollywood, California. West Hollywood Park Community Center. That's where the West Hollywood Library is. That's where I wrote so much of my book, was written at the West Hollywood Library. They just did it. There's a monument now, an AIDS monument that they just opened, I think maybe a week or two ago. But that's where Louise Hay used to have her hay rides.
Oh.
And so her work is foundational to, I mean, I have some clients that used to go to the hay rides. Yeah. That are longtime survivors of HIV and AIDS. And so, so for me as a gay man, her work is part, here I was, this LGBTQ, moving out to LA and, doing all of this LGBTQ advocacy, and discovering Louise Hay. I'm like, oh my gosh, well, she's a part of LGBTQ history. For me, at least, because so much of her teaching.
All of us.
Yeah.
And Reverend Dr. David Alt, I had him on a few months ago.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes, he used to sing with the.
Oh my gosh.
Pieces, and credits going to ministerial school, discovering the signs of mind through Lulu. Okay. Mother Lulu. Yes, Lulu.
Wow.
Auntie Lulu, and her nickname for a lot of the guys back then. And thank goodness she had such courage, because I remember being a preteen. I was born in Haiti, so I come from a very, very warm Caribbean culture. You're always hugging and kissing people. And my mother is just such a mystical Catholic and just loves the whole world and loves Jesus. So I just remember thinking then, I think I had to be 12 or something like that. And I thought, and they were saying, you can't touch people or kiss people because of this AIDS thing. So, I wasn't permitted to watch the news, but it's in the, it's in the world. So you hear it as a kid. And I remember thinking, oh, well, I'm going to die because I'm not going to stop hugging and kissing my friends and family. I was 12. So when you're an outlier, I remember thinking, oh, well, because I'm not going to stop touching people. That's abnormal. I remember thinking that's unnatural. We have to care for each other. Thank you so much for, Dr. Patricia is streaming. Thank you, Dr. Patricia. Thank you for watching. And so it's incredible how she had the courage to publicly stand up and support a community that was being vilified, vilified throughout all of media, and you can't touch people and be careful and fear. There was so much fear. in the air. Not in my particular family. My parents had just kind of immigrated here, so it was different. But I was here as a kid, but that fear was around me. But I made this decision not to buy into it. I thought, oh, well, I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep on loving.
Right.
And I feel as though that's what Louise actually decided to do.
Yeah.
And reinforce the principle that we're not going to talk about it. Ain't it awful? You know,
Right.
talk about how bad it is.
Right.
We're going to look for the good and share the good. And it's so interesting. I feel like it reflects a lot of, it's similar to what's happening today.
Yeah.
There's a pandemic of indifference. Pope Francis said that,
Right.
you know, people, the caring, selfishness, but there's also for young LGBTQ kids, I mean, the shame and the shame that religion, you know, this whole idea that you're not worthy of God's love.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well,
mess
that,
you up.
and that, I mean, that starts out a child with conditions, you know, love is conditional, and it sort of sets the tone for how they give and receive love, their feelings of self-worth, and the whole inner landscape of their lives. And that's why for me, I really, as much as I was so passionate about sharing Louise Hay's work, and I did the Louise Hay, the teacher training in San Diego, and met Dr. Patricia, and it was such a healing, powerful experience for me. And I was like, how can I get this information to young people?
Yes.
And so then that's where Tilly from Tilly's Life Center also had read Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. And she, for your listeners who are familiar, Tilly's the clothing company, and Tilly's Tilly's an actual person. And so she, with another Heal Your Life teacher, developed a curriculum based on the teachings of Louise Hay. And they met with Louise Hay before she passed and got her blessing. And so this program called Tilly's Life Center is based on the teachings of Louise Hay. It's infused with the consciousness of Louise Hay. And so after I had done the training, I received a phone call or an email that they were looking for teachers who had experience with Louise Hay, the Heal Your Life teachers. And so I went to Tilly's house. It was kind of the first group of facilitators, and they taught us the curriculum, which again was based off of Louise Hay's material.
Wow.
And the teacher training, kind of the workshop. And so I lived in Los Angeles. Tilly's Life Center is based in Orange County.
Okay.
And so they were pretty much like, well, Chris, like, because Southern California, the drive to go from LA to OC is pretty far.
The drives. Oh gosh.
Right. So I was like, I need to find programs here in Los Angeles that I can teach this to. And so I thought about the places that would, for me, a lot of LGBTQ youth or youth that could really benefit from this kind of material. And so I started teaching. We brought the program to Los Angeles Central Juvenile Hall. And because I met someone at an LGBTQ mental health youth conference, and I'll share this story because it was so powerful to me. And this kind of goes back to the shame piece and the religion.
Yes.
Is this organization called Penny Lane. It's one of the largest child welfare agencies in Los Angeles County. And so once a year, they do the EDGY conference, which the EDGY conference is an LGBTQ specific conference, one day, where clinicians, mental health professionals, anyone who works with youth can go to this conference and get information and then bring that back to their organizations. And so I was at this conference and I was at a workshop, and there was a gentleman sitting next to me. I remember I sat down, he was sitting next to me because before the workshop started, he stood up, and I remember feeling like, oh gosh, what is he saying? Because he seemed really like charged with what he was about to share, but he said, hi, my name, introduced himself. He said, I work at LA Central Juvenile Hall, and I came to this conference because I need your help. He said, I work in Central Juvenile Hall, and there's a care division where they put, if a youth is arrested and they find out that they're LGBTQ, they'll put them in this part of the juvenile hall. It's separate. And, because they don't want them to be bullied or abused or,
Yes.
And so once a month, they had a Catholic priest that would come and visit the youth. And he shared this story in front of the group. And he said, upon learning that one of the youth was transgender, he walked up to her and placed her hand on her heart and said, "May God be with you. You need an exorcism." And so
I'm
he
sorry,
said,
that just, oh my goodness.
yeah. So he was basically asking for support to help the youth. And I approached him after the workshop and I said, "Hi," introduced myself. I said, "How can I help? How can I get involved?" And so I met with the team at LA Central Juvenile Hall. We had to kind of pitch the curriculum and the program. And so for almost 3 years, I taught at LA Central Juvenile Hall, and we worked in the care division. And I worked myself and my co-facilitator, Kiki, and we worked with the boys. They had separate units, boys and girls, and we would go in there and teach these young people about self-love, about the power of their thinking and their choices. And because what I realized working at Central Juvenile Hall is, in my belief, is that no young person wakes up and then just decides to go do something that gets them arrested and then put into juvenile hall. They come from families or situations or experiences that has informed their self-concept and their beliefs about themselves and the world that they live in.
Yes.
That contributes to those choices. And so a lot of the youth that we worked with, I remember doing one of the classes is called Who Am I? And we get to ask them to write, we're teaching them about affirmations, and we call them empowerment statements because they're young people. But I remember this group it was boys, because again, they have them separate. And it was this group of really tough, kind of like what you would, think of when you're in juvenile hall, and these tough guys. And I remember I had them go around and share what they wrote. And I had been teaching there for a few weeks, so they kind of knew who I was. But I remember these really tough exterior guys were sharing things like, "I don't like my body. I feel, really insecure," or like just really things that you would never think of. And it was that shame. It was that shame piece that we carry inside of ourselves.
Yes.
And so the healing is to be able to say out loud, that these things that I feel really shameful about, and that I'm able to release that energy and then replace them with, the positive things that I'm learning about myself.
Yes. I cannot, a road trip to love.com, Chris's website, this Raising LGBTQ Allies, a parent's guide to changing the messages from the playground.
Mm-hmm.
We need, because those messages get in. There are messages, there were things that were said to me by other kids that I remember.
Right. Yeah.
That actually were subconscious, like downloads that went in that I'm still having conversations with.
Right.
After all of my inner work.
Yep.
That's what's so astonishing about it.
Yes.
Things that were said to you as a child,
right,
that created a limiting belief.
Beliefs
that manifest that I'm, that I still go, Martine, come on.
Right. Yeah. And I love what you said in the beginning. Self-love. It's a practice. It's a lifelong spiritual practice. And, Messages from the Playground, the subtitle of the book is what I refer to it, because I believe the power of the subconscious mind. And so messages from the playground are the subconscious beliefs that we all have. It's a metaphor because I believe that the playground is the mind, and the messages are the unconscious beliefs. And so no matter who we are or where we come from, we all play on the same playground. You come from Haiti, I come from Tucson, Arizona. No matter who we are or where we come from, there are certain societal beliefs that we unconsciously absorb based on the collective consciousness. That subtitle is really, it's the through line.
Yes.
It's the core message of the book, is that it's so important for us to uncover, no matter who you are, whatever your identity is, what are the messages from the playground? What are the subconscious beliefs that you've absorbed or taken on? And then how to unlearn them, how to take them out, how to become aware of them. My book is broken up into 3 sections. awareness, willingness, and change.
Wow.
And, we can't change anything that we're not aware of, I should say, is that once we become aware of something, we can't become unaware of it.
That's right. That's right. So, my beloveds, this is our little segue. We're going to take a quick break. This is Rev Martine on the What Would Louise Hay Say show, and we'll be right back.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
What Would Louise Say? Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Hosted by Reverend Martine Bernard. Explore the wisdom of Louise Hay. Brought to you by New Thought Media Network. Dive into Louise's teachings. Experience healing and empowerment. Reverend Martine shares insights. Connect with a contemporary audience. Unlock your potential. Transform your life with love. Embrace positivity and healing. Join our vibrant community. Ready to join us? Let's spread love and wisdom together. Please like, share, and subscribe. Only on New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Hello, hello, beautiful people, beautiful ones. We are back with my wonderful guest and clinician and Heal Your Life passionate embodier of this philosophy, Chris Tompkins. And Chris, we were talking about your incredible book. Oh, I love the cover. And I really, my beloveds, if you want to gift, this is the season of giving. And of course, we're asking you to give to the New Thought Media Network, but also purchase this book. I'm feeling as though I definitely will, because it's also metaphysical. It's spiritual. There are so much of it is applicable to all of us. Chris and I were talking about shame and self-love. And Chris, there is a terminology that you use called inner advocacy. Could you talk about that? Because we're always hearing the message, advocate for yourself in the world, through activism, but what is inner advocacy?
Yes, thank you so much. I love that you asked that question. It's funny because when I had to submit my bio, when I first, received the publishing contract and the book was, being finalized, they asked me to send the bio for the back of the cover, like what it's going to say on the back. And I said, I'm an inner advocate. And I remember my editor was like, we don't want to use that. That's confused. That we don't know what that means.
Let's get spiritual. I know what
that exactly. Yeah. Because they're not a spiritual publisher.
They're business. They're all about
exactly. But inner advocacy for me, and what's so interesting and beautiful is that, the Louise Hay, I have a picture of her on my desk that I received. It's one of the photos that they, Patricia and Rick, they give you when you complete the training. You get a photo of Louise Hay that's signed by her.
Yes.
And I have it on my desk. So she's looking at me, and I checked in with her and turned this over before, but excuse me. I share that because I feel like she's guided me my whole path. And, I truly, the work that I do today is so much because of her. And before I wrote my book, the inspiration of my book came from, I was giving a workshop at the Equality Arizona Justice Conference. This was back in 2015, so almost 10 years ago. And I was giving a workshop at this conference, an LGBTQ specific conference, about self-love and the power of inner advocacy to make us effective outward advocates.
Yes.
So if we want to be effective outward advocates in the world,
yes.
we have a whole inner emotional landscape that needs tending to.
Yes,
and so for me, inner advocacy comes before outer advocacy.
Amen.
So how can I tend to my inner world that makes me strong and powerful out in the world?
That's right.
And so I share that because at that workshop, I was giving that workshop, and it was like, no one there had, heard of this notion of self-love. Like how can self-love help me be a better advocate?
Wow.
And then after that workshop, after that conference, I went home, and the whole story of my book was born at that visit home.
Wonderful.
And so I share that because my sort of message of inner advocacy came from the teachings of Louise Hay.
That's right. And your practice.
And my practice. And then it was from that sort of delivery and sharing of how can we be LGBTQ inner advocates that sort of opened the door to this family experience where my nephew asked me a question that inspired the book.
Oh, can you talk a little bit about that, Chris?
Yeah, sure. It kind of goes back to the shame. I think, again, kind of going back to the title of my book, Raising LGBTQ Allies, take away the title LGBTQ. And I believe that being able to have open and honest conversations with children at a young age can prevent so much harm.
Oh, yes, it can.
And so many of my clients, whenever I'm talking to them and they're sharing with me about their, their experiences or their childhood or their parents' divorce or their father's addiction, or, I ask them, how was that explained to you when you were a kid? How did you learn about that? And most of the time they say, well, it wasn't explained to me, or it wasn't talked about.
That's right.
And that's how shame develops. Shame develops in the secrecy and the silence and the judgment.
Yes.
And children are truth detectors. They're intuitive. They're so intelligent, and they absorb everything. They're like sponges.
Yes.
So for me, my nephew, I was at a family. My mom had a bunch of my relatives and family friends over. I was in town visiting. And a childhood friend she's female, was sitting next to me. And my nephew at the time, who was 6, was playing in the living room with all the kids, like little kids do. They're running around and playing. And like kids do, they have a thought and they'll ask a question, whether it's at the store or in public, or, they have the thought, they ask the question.
Yes.
So he had the thought, probably running around, and ran over to me. And in his little kid voice, he whispered / talked out loud, Uncle Chris, is she your girlfriend? And I remember everyone's the way that it was like time slowed down. And I remember observing everyone's facial expressions. Like they all were kind of like, I could feel the shame, like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I had just come from this workshop, yes. Like I said. And then my nephew's asking me if she was my girlfriend. And then like kids do, he didn't want to sit down and hear me explain to him. He thought it, asked the question, and then ran off and played.
And run back from the mouth of babes. It's
exactly.
Like spirits, like this. Right. The show is on.
The show, yeah. But later that night, I started to think about, wait, why did he ask if I had a girlfriend? I guess I just thought that my sister had already talked to them about, me being gay or having a gay uncle. And then I started thinking, oh, wait, maybe my sister hasn't talked to them. And so I started to the next day ask parents that I knew who had kids. I have a big family. I come from a big Italian family. And most of the parents I spoke with were like, oh, we thought about it, but we don't know what to say. Or, oh, they're too young. I got a lot of they're too young to understand. And then I realized, oh, this is the shame. This is the shame.
Yes.
They believe that they're too young. And behind that is that there's something wrong or different or bad. So we're going to wait until they're old enough. Because
that's a great explanation. That's the code word.
Right, exactly. They're too young. Right. They're too young. But my whole thing was like, well, if he can understand girlfriend and boyfriend, then why is he too young to understand boyfriend?
And that's when you want to share it, because children don't have the same prejudices that adults do.
No,
they're innocent.
And children are they're questions, and I say this in the book, they're questions that they ask, and children ask a lot of questions. Their questions are informed from what they're learning.
Exactly.
So my nephew, based on his learning, mom, dad, school, sees parents, man, woman. So he's simply asking the question based off what he's learning, which truly innocent, and our society is entrenched with heteronormativity. And so the normative is heterosexual. And I often say with my clients working with members of the LGBTQ community, specifically gay men, is that heteronormativity, it's like humidity for someone who's gay. You can't necessarily see it, but when you're in spaces, you can feel it. It's thick.
Wow. Well
and
said.
so it's this feeling that a lot of, and that's where, for me as a gay man, I realized this is the inner advocacy, is I realized, oh, there's still shame that I even have. You know, how easy it is for me to live in LA and be openly gay. Whenever I would go home to visit, it's really easy for me to code switch and to go back into, kind of my masculine gender expression.
Yes.
Because that is what I learned that kept me safe when I was younger.
Precisely. Wow. This is so profound. Chris, I am so grateful for your inner advocacy work with your clients, because one thing that we know from Louise's work, and thank you, Spirit, for the innovation work, our quote unquote outside lives will be in shambles. And it's so important. We had your website up. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do as a clinician, the types of clients? Do you have any kind of workshops coming up? Your book? Please let us know where we can find you. And then we have our 3 questions.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I primarily work with adult gay men, individuals and couples. And I really believe that, like I mentioned earlier, we can only take others as far as we've gone ourselves. And I think a lot of healers, people who listen to your show, Louise Hay, yourself, the archetype of the wounded healer, it's the things that were difficult in our lives that we worked through, that we want to share that transformation with others. Yes. And so for me as a gay man, the things that I had to learn and unlearn, I'm so passionate about wanting to share that. That's what led me to be a teacher and to work with young people. And so I work primarily with adult gay men, individuals and couples. My book, Raising LGBTQ Allies, that was so much of that book was wanting to prevent the things that I see with my clients. And so now that I've been working as a clinician individually with clients and no longer am I teaching, I'm now working on my second book, which is specifically to help gay men heal and learn how to love themselves from the inside out.
Oh, this is so beautiful. I mean, this is like, I really see this as taking Louise's legacy and forwarding it.
Absolutely.
We've had a life-changing inspiration. The book was the messenger for us in our individual lives. And then we take it into the particular areas and go deeper She gave us the universal umbrella, you could say,
Right.
of the teaching, and now we're individualizing it. And I just think that's so profound
Mm,
and wonderful,
mm,
especially right now where being different
mm-hmm.
is being can seem like it's being vilified, but we also know we create our reality, and our declaration is that all is well, everything
Right.
is working out for our highest good, and
Right.
that we are safe. It's so
Right.
important, beloved ones tuning in, to say that affirmation with
Right.
everything,
Right.
because the nervous system can get very agitated,
Yes.
and very unbalanced and out of equilibrium because of what we can be taking in.
Right.
And Louise would say, all is
All
well.
is well.
All
All
is
is
well.
well.
So,
Yes.
Chris, what are your 3 tips for navigating the holiday season, this time on planet Earth, as a master teacher and
Mm.
clinician?
Yeah. 3 tips. Kind
Yes.
of similar in line with what you just said, all as well is for me, 3 tips that I could help or offer anyone. It's come up with, some type of mantra, some type of affirmation that you can say to yourself, that you can use, all is well, the serenity prayer, just something that you can say to yourself internally when you're with your family or you're out in public and there's just a lot going on. The world is, there's a lot that's happening. And so something that you can say to yourself that just sort of grounds you and reminds you. So an affirmation, all
Mm.
is well, I am safe. I have, this card, all is well, everything is working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come, and I am safe.
And I am safe.
Yeah, so something that you can remember. Then the next thing is to be kind to yourself, to be
Yes.
patient with yourself, just to, I invite clients, to put their hands on their heart and just kind of, how would a best friend, how would you reply to your best friend if they were going through this situation?
Yes.
How would you reply to if your best friend told you they have a busy weekend, a lot of family, and, what would you offer them? And then offer that to yourself.
Yes.
And then the third thing is, I think, just to practice the self-love, to remember to love
Yes.
yourself through all of it.
Love yourself through all of it, and breathe.
And breathe, and
Ugh.
breathe.
Breathe. So it came up in my consciousness. We're all doing that shallow breathing. Everybody's stressed. People are running through. My sister flew back home, came from a
Yes.
pre-Christmas visit, and the flight was delayed 3 times.
Breathe.
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 Yeah. Thank
Breathe,
you for that.
breathe.
That's a good one.
Well, Chris, it's been an incredible pleasure having you on. I cannot thank you enough for allowing your book to be channeled through you, because that's a legacy that you're leaving for all of us. Thank you. And for your work that you're doing to heal, to help LGBTQ folks and everyone heal of shame, because my beloveds, the shame thing is not just for one group or another. It's in the mind, in the collective consciousness of humanity. And it's so important to bring it up to the light, to be here.
Right.
Love that little child. Give yourself a hug.
Yeah, hug, right.
Give yourself a hug.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it's time.
yeah.
Knowing that all is well. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure. Happy holidays. And thank you for your service to humanity in your own little slice, in your little, neighborhood of life.
Yeah, right.
So I thank you
you.
your spiritual, mastery and the love in your heart that you're allowing to flow through to so many of us. It's been a joy. My beloveds, I'm Rev Martine Bernard, and this is What Would Louise Say on the New Thought Media Network.